Hi family, I hope you are well. We'll see you again for a new video on your Barça SpotLight channel. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed, and to everyone who is subscribing to our channel. We debriefed the final of the Nations League which pitted Portugal against Lamine Yamal's Spain. Why Spain should be kicking themselves after Nations League final loss to Portugal. Portugal defeats Spain on penalties in thrilling UEFA Nations League final. Spain missed the chance to retain their UEFA Nations League title, as geographical neighbors Portugal pipped them to the post 5-3 on penalties to win the competition for a second time, after the final had finished 2-2 after extra time. In this final between two previous Nations League winners, it was the victors of the inaugural competition, Portugal, who started the brighter. Led by Spanish-born manager Roberto Martinez, Portugal created a gilt-edged opportunity inside the opening 5 minutes, when a well-worked corner saw Bernardo Silva tee up the unmarked João Neves, who scuffed a volleyed effort narrowly wide of the post. As ever though, the Spanish couldn't be held down for long, and they created a glorious chance of their own when Nico Williams laid the ball on a plate for the unmarked Pedri 18 yards from goal, but his side-footed effort flashed inches wide of the target. That only proved to be a temporary reprieve for the Portuguese, who soon found themselves behind. A sweeping Spanish move ended with a touch of fortune as Lamine Yamal's teasing delivery was only partially cleared by Portugal, and Martin Zubimendi was on hand from 6 yards to prod the ball into an empty net. Their joy was only short-lived though, as the Selecao hit back inside 5 minutes through Champions League winner Nuno Mendes, who drove into the box and arrowed a ferocious strike into the far corner. As the first half wore on after Portugal's leveler, the game was akin to a basketball contest at times. A third goal looked increasingly likely, and it was an incisive Spain attack that yielded it moments before halftime, as Pedri's deft ball was flicked into the bottom corner by the on-rushing Mikel Oyarzabal, restoring La Roja's lead in timely fashion. Never ones to give up, Portugal did have the ball in the net for a second time just after the break through Bruno Fernandes, but he'd strayed into an offside position before finding the bottom corner. Portugal's resolve was unwavering though, and they eventually found a leveler through a familiar source, as Cristiano Ronaldo reacted quickest to prod home Mendes's deflected cross at the far post. It was Spain and Isco who came closest to winning the game within 90 minutes, but a stunning Diogo Costa save ensured the game would go into extra time. Even with an extra 30 minutes of action, a winning goal seemed unlikely, with two much-changed sides seemingly content for the game to go into penalties. Spain are no strangers to penalty shootouts in Nations League finals, having beaten Croatia in the 2023 final. But when Alvaro Morata missed their fourth penalty at 4-3 in Portugal's favor, Ruben Neves stepped forward to convert and seal glory for Portugal, completing a clean sweep of spot kicks for the Euro 2016 winners. They are now the first nation to ever win the tournament more than once, with tonight's triumph also being a fitting way for Cristiano Ronaldo to sign off from international tournaments, should this be his last one. The headlines will all point to a 40-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo winning yet another trophy, but the truth is that on Sunday night in the Nations League final, the Portuguese captain did little of note to get supporters excited. Being in the right place at the right time to equalize for his country showcased that he hasn't lost the goal-scoring touch that has served him well throughout his career, though it was his only shot on target and in fact his only touch in the Spain box in the 88 minutes he spent on the pitch before being replaced by Goncalo Ramos. He also had just 22 touches in the match, and his pass accuracy of 75% was by far the worst of any player on the pitch. Despite ending up on the losing side, Pedri's importance to the Spain side should really be the topic of conversation. Pedri rose to the big occasion, again. The Barcelona man once again rose to the big occasion, unlike clubmate Lamine Yamal, and an astonishing 52 completed passes from 52 attempted, gave him a perfect 100% completion stat. La Roja also had 3 players that made over 100 passes in Marc Cucurella, with 106, Dean Huijsen with 123, and Martin Zubimendi with 118. Vitinha's 88 touches was, not unexpectedly, the most in the Portugal side, and impressively, 81 were passes of which 76 were completed for a more than respectable 93.8% completion. The PSG man also managed 14 touches in the final third of the pitch, just 2 less than club and country teammate Nuno Mendes, who kept Lamine in his pocket for virtually the entire game. Lamine Yamal was disappointing. If everyone expected the 17-year-old wonder kid to provide the game's most memorable moments, they were left sorely disappointed. One chance created all evening was essentially the total of his attacking threat in the final, Mendes content to sit off him, and then match him stride for stride if Lamine thought about trying to take him on the outside. Frankly, it was a masterclass in how to defend the tricky winger, and it meant that the majority of Spain's attacks had to come from the opposite flank being patrolled by Cucurella and Nico Williams. What's interesting to note is that only the Chelsea man had more tackles attempted, more tackles won, and more interceptions than Lamine, perhaps suggesting that Luis de la Fuente had decided to keep the Barcelona man in a more defensive role. 17 total duels, more than anyone on the pitch, would be a further persuasive argument that the manager had something different in mind for his star player on the night, but not even he could have predicted Lamine losing the ball on 21 separate occasions, again the most on show. Luis de la Fuente has questions to answer. After the game, de la Fuente told supporters why he'd substituted the teenager. "We wanted to give the game a bit more energy," he explained. "The introduction of Yeremy Pino and Alex Baena gave us that energy, that control of the game that we had lost, as well as our finishing and shooting." He was tired because he has been competing since Thursday. There has been little rest. He has had a very difficult year. He is 17 years old and we have to behave accordingly. Today we understood that it was time to replace him, to give another player the opportunity to come in so that he brings a little more energy. What the Spanish manager failed to articulate was why the brilliant Pau Cubarsí was left on the bench and why he played Oscar Mingueza at right back, given that the Celta Vigo man was unable to get back quickly enough whenever he made the decision to move upfield. Spain on top in most aspects of play. Against a team that had 61.4% possession across the 120 minutes of play, Portugal should at least be given great credit for not only coming back twice, but also for keeping Spain at bay. In terms of total dribbles, 19 and 50.5% of duels won, the Selecao das Quinas were on top, but in every other metric the Spanish reigned supreme. When you have 16 shots to Portugal's 7, their least in a 2024-2025 Nations League game, 755 accurate passes to Portugal's 441, 13 tackles and interceptions won to Portugal's 8, and more, then you simply have to end up on the winning side. Pretty passing 812 was Spain's most on record in this season's tournament, and possession for the sake of it might look great for the connoisseur, but it doesn't always win football matches. The reality is that Ronaldo may have done not much more than poke the ball home for a second equalizer, but that one instance helped his side to win the match. Portugal were there for the taking. He, more than most given his longevity in the game, will understand that it's about playing to your own strengths while stopping the opposition from being able to execute their game plan, and on the night, Spain failed spectacularly to bring down a Portugal side that were there for the taking, particularly after La Roja went ahead twice in the match. Indeed, Spain hadn't lost in the last 13 Nations League matches after taking the lead, and when leading at halftime in the 2024-2025 Nations League, Spain had a record, so they'll undoubtedly be kicking themselves that they weren't able to see this one through. Thanks for watching. Thanks also to those who took 2 seconds to give it a thumbs up. And the comment to reference it helps the channel enormously. Don't hesitate to subscribe and activate the bell if you haven't already. Thanks again, keep up the good work and see you soon for a new video.